Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. In this one we have one big piece of news up front and a few other smaller pieces that I'll cover at the end. So we'll start with the big one here, and that is that the Aang movie, so The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, is going to be sort of presented for the first time at the Annecy Film Festival, coming up June 8th to June 15th. So let's get straight into this. We had some suspicion that Avatar could be shown off at this. This is the next kind of industry event coming up after CinemaCon. So yeah, let's see what happens. And we have confirmation here. So when we go down to this section here. Outside this year's official selection, Annecy will feature first looks, sneak peeks, and highlights from all of the major US studios. Then they kind of go through them, kind of one by one, but we're focused on Paramount, of course. Paramount Animation will be presenting new franchise titles, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie Search for SquarePants, and Aang the Last Airbender. So there we go, there's the confirmation. Seems to be straight from some sort of a press release that they were given. Now, note they still use Aang the Last Airbender and not The Last Airbender... Sorry, The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender. Now, this is what it was kind of basically subtitled as before. I'm not sure what the situation is there. I guess the event will be where they properly kind of double down on the title and stuff like that. But yeah, you can see here there's not too much information. Even from this one, it's just like the studios will give first look, sneak peeks, and highlights, and then they just say presenting their new movies. Even when you go to other places that have a little bit more information, like this is Animation Magazine, they have it laid out maybe a slight bit better, where you go to the studio spotlight section here, down to Paramount Animation. They have the title, as we learned from CinemaCon, correctly. Presentation of a new project from the Avatar The Last Airbender franchise, an animation feature film directed by Lauren Montgomery, who worked on the original series. Release date October 10th is wrong, as far as we're aware. January 30th should be the release date. This is the old release date that we have, but it doesn't seem to be valid anymore. But they are saying that the Paramount stuff is actually going to happen Thursday, June 12th at some point in the afternoon. Paramount, I think, compared to some of the other studios, have not directly, I suppose, themselves maybe publicly posted about their details. So that might come out in the next couple of hours or next day or two, because you'll note they have like Netflix announced this morning, and when you look up stuff, you'll find a lot of articles talking about what Netflix is doing at Annecy, what Warner Bros. Is doing, but none of them are super specific about Paramount just yet, maybe speaking to the fact that there's not too much information about what exactly they're doing. But either way, they are showing off two things, the two Nickelodeon franchises that are kind of their focus, Avatar and SpongeBob. SpongeBob obviously got some details coming out of CinemaCon, where at least got like a visual and some voice actor information, that sort of stuff, kind of what we were maybe expecting. So that gives the opportunity for something like that to happen. Usually at these things, this is where, yeah, as expected, like we were talking about with CinemaCon, we probably expect them to show off some sort of a clip or something like that. And then it will be all about if they use this as an opportunity to present information publicly at the same time. Because this is basically the first time it's being properly presented at one of these events, there is a bit of a sense where, like, okay, people's attention is going to be on it, so you kind of should have some public information out there otherwise, because you can't just go to like the official website and get all the information you need on the movie. They don't have it there. The official social media accounts don't really talk about the movie. It kind of feels like now's kind of the time, especially by the time we get to June, like nearly 2 full months into the future, like a month and a half, will be much more in line with like, yeah, we kind of should be getting going now on the marketing. So will there be information to coincide with this kind of Annecy kind of announcement on the website, on the social medias, just to get things going a little bit? Maybe a sense where like, hey, maybe drop the logo on that day. Really double down, this is the release date for the movie. If you have a visual or a movie poster, this would be the time to do it, I think. A little bit of a teaser heading into San Diego Comic-Con the next month, where we're probably expecting a panel where they can talk maybe a little bit more about the movie, but also the series as well, and other stuff. So there's that whole thing, but again, Annecy is a behind closed doors event like CinemaCon, so we are not expecting whatever happens directly at this event to come out in terms of visually. We probably wouldn't even expect it to be leaked. So we will hear about this through text reports, probably describing the clip that they were shown or something along those lines. Probably has to be a clip given where it's at and just the timing that it's going to have. That sort of details probably needs to come out at this point. I do also think, given how much confusion there is about release date at this point, that should probably be clarified as well. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one here where like I think CinemaCon is much more of a kind of half news, half behind closed doors event. It's definitely evolved to become more everyone's focused on it. This one I still think is maybe more in the category of it's more of a it's for the people there with a little bit of news, but we'll see what exactly happens here, of course. We're just waiting for anything for Avatar, and at least here it seems like they're kind of showcasing it properly. Like I think we've come out of this pretty stunned if we find out that they talk about this in much the same way they did at CinemaCon, where they say basically nothing. You know, like, will we get information? Like, will they kind of confirm who Steven Yeun is playing here? I don't really know. But good to know. It is going to be a step on the path to the movie finally coming out, feeling like stuff is actually going to be happening. A little bit frustrating, but stuff is happening. And then as well, this is Screen Daily. Their report was just that, hey, Paramount Animation will have Aang the Last Airbender and the SpongeBob movie presentations. So definitely the idea of they're presenting the movie, they're doing a presentation on each of these movies seems to be the idea. And how can you do that on the Aang movie unless you say something of some note at all? So I think that's everything we can really talk about right now. We're obviously still a little bit away from this event, but at least we know kind of when to expect stuff. June 12th is going to be our day where hopefully there'll be some information. And we've been waiting for it for a while, so it kind of feels like now's the time. And I think once we get here, we won't be too far away from knowing about what's happening in terms of the schedule for San Diego Comic-Con. And once we're there, a lot of the publishing stuff is going to be happening. The toy line's going to be happening. We should be much more into Avatar Studios marketing mode, so things should be a little bit better after this point. But we'll move on to the next piece of news. This was posted on the Braving the Elements TikTok. And the significance here is just, hey, these four people in the same room, they filmed video. Is this the usual season premiere Braving the Elements episode where Janet and Dante have Mike and Brian on to start the new season of the podcast? That was one of the announcements as part of the anniversary, was that Braving the Elements is confirmed for season 4. They're going to be starting Kora. So that explains what they're doing here. They have a Kora art book here. They're talking about Kora. I wouldn't read too much into the text here, but it's just the idea of, okay, if they do this, like a recent interview with Mike and Brian, season opener, they're highlighting that the podcast is going to have news to a certain degree on it. They're going to have to ask them about Avatar Studios. Will this finally be an interview where Mike and Brian speak a little bit more openly about Avatar Studios? And again, we have to keep in mind, previous podcast premieres, even the last one, they said nothing. Like, they mentioned, like, oh, we're working on a movie, but they didn't even say it's an Aang movie. Like that's how little information they have said specifically about these projects. So I'm wondering, could this maybe be one of the first times we properly hear them speak a little bit openly about this stuff? Again, we don't know when the podcast is actually premiering in terms of how long away it is or anything like that, but I assume it's probably not too far off if they theoretically have already kind of recorded it in some way here, but we'll see if that's actually what it is. I'm just speculating that this is what it is, but it was through the podcast channel. I'm assuming they're doing the same thing again. 4th season in a row with a creator interview. Hopefully it's a little bit more insightful in terms of news at the start. That's the hope. So there's that. Then we have an update on Voyage of the Unity, so the Kickstarter for the next Avatar Legends RPG stuff. This is obviously the Roku era stuff relating to the Unity. This is being done through Kickstarter with Beetle and Grimm, but Magpie are of course still involved. We've been waiting ages for an update on this. We're just waiting for the Kickstarter to launch, basically. In their recent newsletter, Beetle and Grimm said that they'll have a stream on May the 4th where they will have an update about upcoming projects, including the Kickstarter for Voyage of the Unity. So on May 4th, we'll have some details on that. In my mind, you just got to announce when it's coming out. I hope that's the detail that's there, because a lot of the previous stuff that we want for this will just be there the day the Kickstarter goes live. I don't need to know what everything is ahead of the day the Kickstarter goes live. I just want to know when the Kickstarter is going live. That's really all I want to know, just to get my order in for this, to know what it is a little bit better, and kind of in a way move on to see what the next Magpie book is, because I'm excited for this to a certain degree, but I also want that Spirit World book as well at the same time. So there is that. May the 4th for that one. It's been a while. Hopefully it's finally happening. Last one is just a bit of merchandise stuff that I was alerted to that I had never heard about before. So this is the website Mrverse, who seem to have some Avatar official jewelry. So you can see here they've got some like Zuko knife stuff. They've got Appa's head, Mai's sai, interestingly, Sokka's club. They've got an Aang ring. It's an odd selection of items in that, like, it's like Aang, Sokka, Appa, and Mai before a lot of the other characters. So interesting there for anyone who likes their jewelry. There's not that much Avatar jewelry kind of stuff out there, especially maybe on the more high end like this. So I just thought I'd mention it here. I'm not into jewelry really, but it's here if you are interested. Link in the description. Just to try and stay on top of most of the Avatar merchandise that is out there. But in the comments, we'll go back to this. What are your thoughts on this? Aang the Last Airbender is going to be presented for those attending Annecy Film Festival. We don't know if we're actually going to get any news ourselves, but we at least should get some sort of a report. I know some people will probably report this as we will be getting publicly our first look at this thing when, no, the event is kind of behind closed doors, private. But we still probably would expect some news just because of how little information we have on the movie. You know, this might be the start of the marketing. We just don't know. But also by the time we get here, San Diego Comic-Con will be pretty close, and hopefully they'll be more open to talking about stuff at that point in the year. But let me know what you think of this. Are you confident for this, or has the CinemaCon disappointment spoiled some of this stuff for you? Let me know what you think of this and some of the other news topics that I talked about. Otherwise, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.